picture I put there, I don't deserve an applause. So I'm Paolo, I'm a product manager, and usually my face, which is, that's the best I can get, and that's my Twitter, in case you can read it, or imagine it. It's associated with the brands above. My latest efforts at PM were done with Skype, where I helped my team to build and ship the new Skype web client, which if you haven't tried, you should try web.skype.com because it's awesome. And so besides working as a PM, I created, funded and running the product management community in Czech Republic that kinds of put together all the product managers around, because I really love product management per se. So this presentation is how to build software products that people love and use. So the answer to this question is through product management. So the presentation could be over here if all we knew what, or we would be able to do good product management. So, which basically it's nothing more than the alchemy between the latest practices between lean, innovation strategy, and agile. So all these best practices converge to the same bottom line, which is managing good products. So the presentation actually will try to address what is product management, or how to mean product management in a significant way. So since we talk about product management, the first question is, how many of us in the room know the answer? So I feel lucky. How many by chance have ever heard or have ever listened to what product management is? Good. It's good you didn't raise your hand. So how many of us actually has never heard about product management, and even if I did, they don't really know what it is? I still raise my hand because I'm confused now. Okay, so the goal of this presentation is not to make everyone an expert PM, but mostly to give a little bit of background of what's real life PM product management and how actually it incorporates all these best practices. And to do so, actually one thing I wanted to say, it's in my notes, I didn't say before, is that this is a job that most of the people discovered by chance. So I discovered it by chance because a recruiter proposed it to me, and many people usually do a different job, such as engineer or quality expert or a designer, and run into product management by chance. This is why I write there by chance. And it's a pity that it's by chance, because up to me it's the coolest job in the world. Like, it gave me the opportunity of traveling the world, of feeling important, of doing super cool stuff that millions of people use, which is freaking cool if you think about it. And you can say at the end of the day that you were the ultimate person responsible for that stuff. So, and in addition to that, it gives you many other opportunities, such as talking at events and other stuff. So product management is cool, and it's a pity that so few people actually run into that by chance. Today the scene is changing because there is more and more awareness about this, and we're going to see actually why. But mostly one of the reasons why I'm here is because I'm also trying to convey mostly to students that product management is out there. It's fun and it's a really cool job, so it's something that we can all consider for our career. So this is the only book's definition I'm going to display today, I swear. I promised Mikhail I'm not going to write book stuff in my presentation. We start from the book definition for a reason, because they're different, first of all, if you look at the literature. And not all of them are correct. Actually, the most popular definition of product management is that every company has a lot of products, and therefore they create some little CEOs running each of these products. So this is why you feel like you own the product. Somewhere it's called also product owner. And this is not entirely true. And Marty Kagan, my favorite author about product management and writer on the Silicon Valley Product Group, if you haven't read that, you definitely should, is also giving a very cool definition that at the end of the day is not complete, because it totally misses the fact that you need to execute on the product. Discovering a product, but you actually, yeah, cool, you discovered it, but you have somehow to put it together and ship it and get it to the ends of the world, which is missing. So the only definition that actually says exactly what product management is the last one from Stephen Haynes. And sadly, it's too complicated, I guess, for every one of us to understand it. But it was the true one. That's correct. So why we start from here is because product management, what Stephen Haynes means, is a company function. So we all study, you all study several disciplines. Somebody studies marketing, somebody studies finance, somebody studies engineering. These are all disciplines that once you will go to work, or you already work, they map onto company functions. So in order to have a company doing business, you do need a marketing department, an engineering department, human resources, and design, and so on. So what it means is product management is a company function, and it's actually the most important one for being competitive and delivering products that people love. This is not so, okay, product management is a company function, cool. So companies have product management, cool. Actually, this is a big statement to say, because until a few years ago, many companies work, and today still work, totally without product management and totally without product managers. So we are in Czech Republic. If you think about Avast, is anybody in the room from Avast? I can say that. Oh, you are. So Avast typically was born without any product management, and they became over the course, actually it's created in Czech Republic and the headquarters is here, and for something like 8 years, correct me if I'm wrong, they were actually market leaders in the consumer business, shipping actually the most popular antivirus in the world for consumer, without a single product manager. So they didn't have a person that was the product manager. So who was at Avast? Actually the product manager. So, and moreover, if a company like that can become the market leader in the world without product management, what am I doing here and what are you guys doing here? So the fact is that the landscape, the competitive landscape in the world is changing. So that was maybe true like 10 years ago, but today in our pockets we have millions of products, millions of phones, of applications, of websites, and basically these products are spawning like mushrooms after a rainy day, and so the competitive landscape is much more aggressive. So in order to get our products now market leaders, and this is something Avast knows because they're trying to slowly inject the product management function, and many other companies are doing that into their organization, is to have people actually on the products and try to make sure that they build not just the product right, but they also build the right product. So, how many people have seen this picture before? Good. So, when we need to talk about what good product management is or signifies today, we start from this very popular picture, which is not mine. I stole it from Martin Erickson, and I'm even obliged to put the credit to him. It's basically telling you that this function of product management and your role as a product manager will be at the intercept between owning actually the business of the product, but also making sure that the engineering builds the product right, and also making sure that the users have the best possible experience. So if we try to zoom in a little bit and give my own interpretation of this picture, so as a PM, your function is actually overlapping across all of these. Now we're going to see what you actually do and what you actually don't as as every of these things, but you need to touch all of them. So you have the chance of contributing to the company strategy. The company strategy means the senior management of the company, like the bosses of the company or VPs of the company and so on. You contribute to the company strategy and the product vision. Doesn't mean necessarily that you build the product vision. Sometimes you're hired and you just tell you, hey, this is the product vision, try to build the product. Sometimes, for instance, if you look at products such as Google Maps or Gmail that you use every day, were actually invented and created by product managers within the company. Google never meant to commercialize Gmail. It was just an internal tool that some PM internally invented. And the same is with Google Maps. Of course, the same is with Master/Fortinet products as well. So, in the worst case, you need, of course, to add up to the strategy, and you have the big chance of contributing to the vision. As well as you touch all these functions. The ones on the right are the ones that belong to the inside of the organization. So this part is about building the product. And this other part is the outbound. It's about talking the product outside. As a PM, one of the most important things is you get to communicate to customers, and you are the best evangelizer of that product and of the company as well. So who needs a PM here? Well, pretty much everyone. I just put just a tiny little bit of the companies in Prague that need product managers and continuously hire product managers. As I said, it's a very cool job, and many companies are looking for that because for them it represents a competitive advantage. So it represents the guarantee that if they hire a good PM, the chances of their products to be loved by the users and to be successful on such a competitive market actually is higher. There are many others. Sorry, I skipped Avast and AVG, to mention the other antivirus, and many others around that needs product managers. An example is Skype, and this is pictured from the Microsoft Office. That there are also people working besides this, if you look besides the windows. And in Skype we have about 200 engineers, and for now 7 PMs. But of course the team is shrinking or expanding depending on the company needs. And so already you can see that in Prague many things are owned by Skype, such as the infrastructure, the user management, and of course all the web client is proudly built and made in Prague by engineers and PM there. So it's a cool job, and if many cool companies around are hiring for that. And so what is it exactly? Like if any of you is interested in becoming a PM, what is it exactly that I have to tell you as a suggestion today? Well, first of all, what PM is not. And I start with this always in my presentations, because there is always a huge point of confusion around what is a product manager. To actually add up to that confusion, I wrote all the confusing terms over there. So what's the difference between a product manager and a project manager? Or a product manager and a product owner? Or a product owner and a Scrum Master? I know a company where a Scrum Master is the product manager. Is that correct? So I'm not going to go in the details of the difference, most probably because I don't know it myself. I know, but I'm not going to go in that. It's not the scope of the presentation. But how many people are familiar with the job, the terms Scrum Master, Product Owner? Many are. How many people could tell the difference between a Product Owner and a Product Manager? Good. So, many less. So, the fact is that the Product Manager is the guy owning the product. The project is usually a temporary entity that can be done in every part. The product manager is not the project manager. The key takeaway is the product manager is not the boss of the team. is not the team manager. When you read team manager or team leader, actually you are a leader for the team, but these people, these engineers are not reporting to you at all. And this is why the definition of CEO of the product is partially incorrect, because the CEO is actually the one everybody in the organizational structure ultimately reports to. Whereas if you are a PM, you are most of the times an individual contributor. You may have a small team of other PMs, but the end PM is just alone. And definitely, you're not a marketing person. So if you look at the jobs on Jobs as Ad or on LinkedIn for the Prague offering, and you type product manager or product manager, I won't name the names of the companies, but you'll be surprised of how many companies have a product manager job that is not a product manager. When you go and read the job description, actually there is a marketing person, or a person that mostly deals with the sales team. I have to say, actually, okay, I won't mention that as a promise, but many companies don't get it right. Many, I used to consult product management to a couple of companies around. Some of them come to me and tell me, hey, I'm a PM hiring manager, I want to hire PMs, and not even my recruiters or my HR department understands exactly what they have to write in the job post. So there is a lot of ambiguity on this job, which is good to get right. If you are the product manager, you're not the marketing guy. The marketing means simply to shout out loud to the world through advertisement or TV commercial or whatever about your product and that your product is good. You overlap with marketing, but you're not a marketing person. So what is a PM eventually? All of this. So you just go read it, and this is what actually a PM does. So a PM is a person that, as I said, starts defining the vision of the product, and these are all the things that you can read in the books. And my presentation actually is not going to dig down too much into these things because you can read them in the books. Ultimately, you define the requirements. Many that raise the hand when I asked about Agile, they can call them user stories. And you try to define what the product should do. And of course, if you have the luck of working on a product that has a user interface, so people click and use, you need to be quite of an expert of the user experience layer. You're not going to do the user experience. Again, you're not the designer. There's a designer for that. There's a marketing manager for marketing. But you will accept it. You will say, hey, this solution doesn't work. I mean, this gray drop down at the bottom of the screen is 1995, and we don't want it in the modern user experience in 2015. So, and again, you will just iterate with the design guy and try to make it better and better. And it's not just about that. It's not just about your opinion or your experience that matters. You're ultimately the person that defines the product goals and tracks them down to make sure that they are met. So for instance, I say, hey, the drop down, maybe it's better to do it another way, and then when we do it another way, we need to be sure we measure how many people click or don't click, or how many people actually give a negative feedback or a positive feedback to that new control we invented instead of the drop down, and see actually if the assumption we made was correct. So until here, nothing is pretty much surprising. How many of us actually have seen something they didn't know before until here? So something is surprising. Raise your hand, please. Something is surprising, but not too much is surprising. And so, key takeaway, product management is the most strategic company function. If you get it right, if you have a good product management team, your products will be cool, your users will love it, and it's a fantastic job to do, and lots of fantastic companies are hiring for it, even here, and you just need to be able to do this, and you can be one. So if this isn't the most useful presentation you ever had delivered, then there is a second part, which is, alright, besides the list, what happens in reality? So in reality, it's a little bit more complicated, and this is actually is my favorite part. So in reality is that you are a CEO, a person ultimately responsible for the product, without any authority. So you're there, and there is a team of excellent people. You work with the marketing guys, as I said, with the design team, with an engineering team, and everything like that. But is it so easy to do this job? Or maybe sometimes you will just want to open an ice cream kiosk on the beach. So at the end of the day, as I said before, it's not so easy because you don't have any direct authority on the team. And this is why you are not the CEO of anything. This is why, as I said before, you are an individual contributor. The only thing you are in reality is this. So you need to compare this to this. Because this is what you end up being. At the end of the day, your main focus will be to have the big picture. So one of the reasons why I became a product manager, I used to be an engineer, as many people might be my fault, but I used to be an engineer, I used to be a developer. And as every developer does, when you dive into the code of a single button, I used to develop up to 2.5 million lines of C++ code base mixed with Android code that would drive anybody crazy, and it drove me crazy, in fact. And basically there is a whole world of classes and objects interacting with each other, but when you zoom out of that world, the only thing you have is the button you're developing. So I became a product manager because I wanted to see what was around the button. There was a whole product, what were the interactions of the products, and especially, as we're going to see here, what was outside of the product. Where did that product go? Who used that product? How much money that product did make? So if you are passionate about engineering, it's good for you to be and stay in that button. If you are a genius of engineering and entrepreneurship, you are able to both look inside the button and the outer world. Since I can focus on just one thing at a time, I decided to get the big picture. So the team leader of the team is actually the person, and this is what you are. And this is the understanding of what product management is today. So we need to know that product management practices aren't born in Czech Republic, of course. They're mostly born where the competition started, where most of the companies spawn, which is where the money is and where the startup culture is higher. This means, of course, the Silicon Valley, it means, of course, Israel, it means, of course, the Boston area. And the understanding of product management today is that you are the person helping the team to build the right product. The way you help your team is because your team is actually working. Your engineers are actually coding all the time inside the button. Your designers are actually producing design all the time, and it takes a lot of time to produce a mock-up of the new screen of that application or that website. So what you do, you take away from them all the headache of all these other interactions with the other company functions, such as marketing. Be surprised, but engineers usually know nothing about marketing, so designers do. And so on and so forth. So what you do is helping your team, and most importantly, you help them doing what? You help them bringing that product, the right product, and we're going to see how you get it right, to the ends of users. You help them getting a product the users loves to the ends of users, and ultimately this means that they will be happy and fulfilled for the mission you're driving. So this is what you represent for the team, and this is how you can lead the team. This is ultimately why you are a leader. So if you are a leader without authority, which is what you are, then what can you do? What's the only thing that you are empowered to do? Well, according to the book, the only thing you can do is to say what to do and why. Now, when I said you define product requirements, so the product manager, wherever you go, owns the product requirements. So tells what to do in the product. And he is the only one, she is the only one accepting these product requirements. So everybody does exactly what the product manager says, even if nobody reports to her, because engineers will report to the engineering manager, the designer will report to the design director, and so on and so forth. Now you can say what? Like you're empowered to, your role is to say what and why. This sadly doesn't mean anybody will actually listen to you. So, yeah, you can say what to do, but you really expect your team doing what you say? The answer is no, they don't. They don't. If you take a job as a new PM, or even if sometimes you stay in the company for 2 or 3 years, I've seen in my entire career a few teams that are actually doing what the product managers say. Why? Because you're not the expert of the product. Everyone is the expert of the product. Come on, these guys are coding up the product. You believe they're not experts of the product? The marketing guy who is telling all the world what the product is, you believe he is not an expert of the product? The design person that designs the product is way far more expert than you are on that. So these people, the attitude of your team is not given to listen to you just because your title is product manager. Where there is a very good product management culture, so especially in the US, there tends to be a little bit more discipline. But in general, you need the only weapon you have, the only leverage you have for having the team, for being able to successfully lead the team to do what you believe is right to do, is to measure your results and to bring your product to users and to show your team how happy your users are and how much your users actually love the product. So in this case, you will not be the product expert. Guess what? They didn't need to hire a product expert. They already are product experts themselves. But you will be something else. And this is my romantic side. So it's all about this. So the presentation says how to create software that people love. Well, how do you believe, or how do you claim creating software that people love if you don't love it? There's no possibility. So this is the only discriminator between a product manager and everybody else. It's about loving product management. It's about loving the opportunity of getting basically your face on something, and if it's crude, it's your face. And it's about loving the product. Even if, and you know, we're going to see that to succeed, you need to try a couple of times. Otherwise, we would be all billionaires. So even if the product in the beginning, or even after a little bit of the beginning, sucks, you still must love it. You still must believe in it. Of course, you need to keep listening and you need to keep looking at ways of improving them. But you need to be the best evangelizer of your product. You need to love your job. And most importantly, you need to love your users. You don't want to know, and your customers, of course, if they're paying. I used to work on both consumer, well, usually you are users at Skype, it's for free, you can use it by the way, and an enterprise where my customers used to be the Fortune 500 or the global 1K biggest companies in the world, and they were paying millions of dollars for my product. And you need to love them. And you need to be the biggest expert about that, about the relationship between users and customers and your product. This is what your team lacks. This is what your team doesn't have any time to look at because they're busy doing the actual work. And this is what makes the difference between a product manager that just wants to write a requirement and say, hey guys, everybody do this. They don't do it. They just code something else on the side. They code something, they say, hey, you know what, we're going to code your feature, but in addition, we're also going to code what really matters, which is the cool feature. The cool feature that you don't know or you don't want to do because you're stupid. So most of the teams actually reason like this. And so this is the big discriminator. And love is this way. And just as a side note, when Mikhail was too good in defining me as a passionate product manager, actually this passion and this love for users is what many of the times got me in the job compared to dozens of other candidates. So sometimes at the job interview, as a senior product manager, after 10 years of experience, the VP asked me, Paolo, what is a product manager for you? Come on, we both know that, right? We both do the job. Can we go to the next question? Why does he ask me? I'm not doing my PM internship here. I'm with 10 years of experience. Why does he ask me what the product manager is or what product management is? Because the definitions vary and are blurred, and it's something you don't actually teach in school. Most of the PMs of the companies you love and you use, such as Google, Facebook, Twitter, Skype, they have a bachelor degree in engineering and then an MBA. So there is no degree in product management. But of course you can have different backgrounds, and we're going to get to what are the ways to becoming PMs later. But so the difference is, so once a VP of a very famous company asked me this question, I said, well, a product manager is a person that has passion for his product and love for his users. And he told me, look dude, I was interviewing 30 people before you, all senior PMs or director of products. Nobody gave me this answer. Nobody mentioned the users. Nobody mentioned the product. They all say, you know, all this buzzword about this seasoned strategies that can attack the market and produce effective results. That's not a real thing. A real good PM is somebody that loves the user and is obsessed about the users and the product. And love equals to value. So the reason why they hire you, back to the point, is because they want their product to be successful. And the product successful means it wins on the market and it creates value. Not necessarily money. So products can be for free and have a huge value. If you think about, besides Airbnb, the two on the left are all free for users. But they can have a huge value. So everybody was laughing when Facebook acquired Instagram for $1 billion. Today, if they didn't purchase it, by the way, they would be probably dead, and it's worth 38 billions. And WhatsApp was acquired with the price per user of $36, and if you count 450 million users, they make 16 millions, plus additional stock options that to a deal of $19 billion. And actually the final check that was written was for $22 billion after the announcement of the acquisition was done. So Airbnb today is evaluated to be $30 million. These are super simple products. Why they build such a massive value? It's just about texting and sending pictures. By the way, WhatsApp is something that gives Skype kind of a big headache, right? Because now they reached 900 million users. And so where is the value? The value is that 90% of the user base of WhatsApp, they actually use it every day. Because I believe who in the room doesn't use WhatsApp? So most of us actually use it. And those that use it every day, which means, this means people love your product. And love equals to value, and this is why you're hired as a product manager. to ultimately deliver value. Now, as I said before, you need to, as the biggest task of your job is to keep the product team together. You need to keep the product team together, that otherwise would be totally fragmented. Why? Because they're all product experts. Because you don't want to know how many pre-sales guys or sales guys come back to the labs talking directly to engineers or to the director of development and saying, hey, you know what, I talked to this customer and that customer and we really cannot sell anything without this feature. You know how many engineers, they say, hey, you know what, I use this thing for testing it every day and there is really missing this button. Let me just code it up. How many designers, they say, hey, you know what, I was studying user interaction and user experience for years. I know that I need to rework the user interface this way. And everybody makes changes, and these changes are all disconnected. So your biggest role as a PM is to keep everything together and to make sure with the authority you don't have, so with the credibility you will build with the team, that everybody is on the same page. This is ideal. I don't know a single case in which this actually really happened, not out of my experience. But you can get to 80% of it, you can get to 90% of it. You will miss something if you're really good. If you're a crappy PM, you will write tons of requirements or business plans, which I've been writing as well, business cases, whatever you want. And actually what's baked into the product is something totally different. And for doing that, you need a lot of meetings. And your schedule can look something like this. Now what you don't see, oh, do you see that? On the top of that, who's familiar with Outlook, is there's all 4-day events during Tuesday to Friday. So it means all these meetings are actually double booked, and those that are already double booked are triple booked. So you need to be a little bit ubiquitous, and this is just to show you. By the way, you may believe I go to lunch with Ondra nearly every day. No, this is because I never managed that week to do a single lunch with Ondra. So I was trying to schedule it all the time, but that space gets actually double booked as well because you run over the other meetings because you cannot be in 2 meetings room at the same time, and you never see Ondra. By the way, Ondra is not fun, so it's okay if you so this is, when you read the Untitled Lunch, actually there was with a nice lady called Veronica, and that one I managed to make time for. So, depends on priorities. I said you need to be able to prioritize. So the last thing you need to know about the theory versus reality chapter of product management, or what expects you if you're going to do this. Is there any product managers in the room besides me? So if you're ever going to do this job, the last thing you need to know is that Marty Kagan, you need to read Marty Kagan first of all because it's one of the best authors when it comes to product management. But also you need to know that he has an imperfection in his definition of product management that overlooks shipping the product and putting it into the hands of users. So, as a PM, your role is to actually define the pace your team ships the product to users. And the faster you are able to define that, and if you're able to convince all your team to do that, ideally it would be every day, right? Like Booking.com does. If your companies actually achieve that. The faster you do that, the faster you will fail. The faster you will fail, the faster you will measure and adjust. So the faster you will overall succeed. And this is why I'm saying that lean startup and innovation theory all converge into good product management at the end of the day. And I mean, this is not given, right? If you think you join one of the top companies in the world, such as Microsoft, Google, Facebook, you think you read all the knowledge ever written in books about product management, and you go in there and you expect to find what these veterans wrote, what this guru wrote, because you expect to find state-of-the-art things. Well, what you find in reality is way far state-of-the-art things in many cases, nothing in other cases. So Paolo, this is the team, this is the product you have to build, good luck. So most of the times, this is what you find. And it's up to you to say, you know, the business objectives of my product is to ship every week, or is to ship every day, or every month. At Skype, when we started the effort of Skype Web, the teams were very fragmented. There were teams that would actually use Kanban, so build features every day, teams that would use 1 week sprint, and teams that would use 2 week sprint. So somebody is ready with the feature today, somebody in a week, somebody in 2 weeks, and you need to be able to put them together, and it requires an effort. So as a PM, you need to try to understand what is right for your product, and try to help your team changing that and adjusting that if it is the case. When I was working at HP as a PM, we started delivering, when I was hired, once every year and a half. So I risked to get the job and go away of the company way far before actually we shipped my work. We worked it out, and now when I left the company, actually, the product ships every month. But it did require an effort to do it. And this is the last, I said the last was before, I was lying. This is the last. So another thing, when you think about product, and you never need to think about the product per se. This is the user ramp for Skype Web. We started with 50 users. 50 users, you may imagine, were just us. It was just deployed internally. And then we did a public beta, invitation only, and there were roughly 1,000 users using it. And then we opened the doors, gradually, of course, not just overnight. And when we went on Outlook.com, we acquired 70 million users. So you may see this as an achievement. You may see this as a goal. But actually it represents, for one aspect, something we were unexpected and unprepared for, which is we were looking at the features. We didn't crash. We didn't crash because of the infrastructure. The infrastructure was holding perfectly, the 70 million users. But us, product managers, weren't prepared and looking at the feedback of the 70 million users. And so when you think about the product, you think about the feature you build, you get them to the market, and they're stable, and they work nicely, and people can use it. But that's a mistake. You do not own a feature or a product. You own the whole platform of the feature, the product, the users, and the data they produce. So with 50 people, my colleagues, usually they would stop by your desk, or they would see you in the kitchen and give you their feedback about this or that thing being crappy or good. With 1,000, again, we could read their feedback one by one. But with 7 million, we need data analytics and instrument telemetry, and then crispy dashboards representing us the business results. And this is what every product manager needs to set up front. Set the business objectives when you do your assumptions, and then verify that they're actually met. So, if I manage to convince any of you to become a PM, if anybody wants to become a PM, the first thing you need to know is you're not going to look like this. Sadly enough, you're going to look like now, you're not one of these guys, absolutely. You sweat product, you breathe product, you love product, you work twice as much, your whole team does. You don't go to sleep. If you go to sleep, you go to sleep with your product, which is on a cell phone or on a laptop. And you're obsessed with that, even when it fails, to measure, to iterate, and to make it better, until you build the value you were hired for. Now, if you really still want, knowing that you're going to look more and more like I do, these are my tips. So first of all, reading. There are many good books. There are many good blogs on that. Mind the Product, the Silicon Valley Product Group blog, and you know, Stephen Haynes, Marty Kagan, the Lean Startup. There is a lot you can read. So document yourself. Just Google it, basically. And then find somebody to validate your assumptions with. So once you read all this theory, as you know, there is a discrepancy between what you're going to read and what you're going to find in reality. So, and many of the concepts around product management has evolved in the past 3 years or 3 years. So your new hiring managers may want to have an updated definition to product management. So you better confront yourself with your professionals and your work. Be curious, break things, and how to become a product manager is simply, you could get any job. You can start from design, you can start from marketing, you can start from engineering, and from there on, you can always look at the segment of the product, which is marketing, messaging, and communications, rather than the source code or that. Try to abstract and get the big picture. Try to talk to your colleagues and get much more than what you're tasked to do. And try to always think critically and look at the things, also the things that do not belong to your specific task, and look at ways of improving them. Don't believe everything is perfect, because nothing is perfect. And PMs are very busy, as you know, so a good way to become a PM is actually to offer free help. You know, sometimes they need to just redefine the development process, which can involve the branching strategy or something more close to engineering. You can say, you know what, I'm going to do this for you. And they're going to be happy because they can go to lunch with Andre. So, helping PMs and getting in touch with them is a good way. Doing your startup is definitely a good way. Google, Facebook, Twitter, Skype, Microsoft, they all hire PMs with a startup background, and it counts as an MBA basically, because CEO of a startup is a PM. It's not true that the PM is the CEO of the product, but it's definitely true that the CEO of a startup of 3 people is also acting as PM, because they don't have money to hire the 4th person that is the PM. Or, if you want to be out of university and just start right away, you can do a PM internship right away, like Mikael did. So all this stuff, the good news is you're not alone. So one of the reasons why I was creating the product management community here is to give people a chance to meet with product managers, to listen to them, to interact with them, even people that were just curious, and even people that were just studying it and never had the chance of applying it in the reality or in any job yet, or maybe they were too junior. So when it came to me, I had to fly to Silicon Valley to actually confront myself with real product managers from the companies. Today you can do it through the community, and this is the reason why I was creating it here, because it's mixed. Of course it's everywhere else if you go to other countries, but it wasn't here. Within the communities you can see the split between the first and the last startup owners and PM professional is basically 50-50. Half of the PMs are startup CEOs, and half of the PMs are from big companies like me. And most of the guys of you that actually would be interested in joining product management will represent the tiny green slide of wannabe PMs. So it's a place for people that want to be PMs to validate the assumptions, and of course for professionals to get better at what they do, because there's a long way of improvement. Who is part of it? The same companies as before and much more. This is just a few that I mentioned. So you have a chance of meeting really smart people that can tell you much cooler things about product management than I can do, because I never speak to the community, but also let the others. And as you see, the distribution is Czech Republic, of course, but there are a lot of people working between here and the US for American companies or for startups that are between the Silicon Valley and here, UK and so on. So you may find good diversity over there. What do we talk about? Pretty much the range of topics we discussed, and especially how they can be seen in context of product management. So this is all of it. I'm open for questions, of course. Thank you very much for your attention. And Mika told me there's also beer afterwards, which is the big part of it. And for those who want to know more and who are curious after you document yourself or want to talk to more PMs, you can come on the next meetup, because we do meetups every month, not 5 for the PM for me. Thank you.
So thank you, Paolo, for the very good speech. And now if you have any questions, you can either raise your hand and ask, or you can go to slide and ask your question there. Thank you.
Yeah. Thanks for the presentation. Actually, I missed the beginning of the presentation. However, I don't know if you mentioned it, but what's the difference between product manager and product owner?
I mentioned it, but I didn't give the answer. And I'm still going to give it. No, the product manager and the product owner. So product owner is a Scrum term, and which is then broadly used also in Agile. So other methodologies also use product owner. The reason is that in a team, you have 3 kinds of people in Scrum: product owner, team member, which is usually an engineer or a designer, and Scrum Master, which is usually a project manager or does many of the project management tasks. So the product owner is actually the product manager. There is what Marty Kagan's identify is the paradigm of 2 people, 1 role, or 1 person, 2 roles. So usually many American companies, especially in the enterprise, they have the 2 people, 1 role pattern, basically having a commercial product manager that goes around and talks to customers and define the overall product strategy, defining high-level requirements, and a technical product manager that is also the product owner. The product owner is the person shuffling the user stories and the requirements into the backlog, prioritizing them, but prioritizing them accordingly to the high-level backlog that the senior or commercial product manager does. When it comes down to companies such as Skype or Google, the 2 people need to merge. There needs to be 1 person, 1 role, because ultimately we are accountable for the product, so we cannot have 2 accountable people. We need to have just 1. Everybody is responsible for the product, including your engineers, but as a product manager, you're the only one who's access of the grid, so you're accountable. The product fails is your fault.
Basically, if you have product owner, then the product manager is not necessary anymore.
The product owner is the product manager, but it doesn't have just to look at the backlog.
No, because you know, you already mentioned CA technologies, for example. And I work in CA. For we have product owners, and we have also product managers.
Yes, that's what I said.
Yeah. Okay.
As many enterprise American companies, you have the 2 people, 1 role. And the product owner is the one managing the backlog, but she doesn't have at CA the flexibility of saying whatever she wants. She needs to put in the backlog the detailed stories of the high-level requirements the product manager collects from customers. More questions? Go on.
How do you measure your product is successful? What indicators do you use?
Well, that's a very good question, and it depends on the nature of the business of your product. Like for Skype, you can measure, for instance, how many minutes of calling and video calling are done. For Facebook, you can measure how many minutes the person sticks to the page. Now, usually, is most of the top companies standardize their product KPIs, the main product KPIs on monthly active users. An active user is somebody who is not just registered to your product or service, but every month has it at least in the foreground and uses the app and touches and clicks on the app. And then you can dig down. You can say, hey, if I launch the new video emoticons, I want to see how many times people click on the video emoticons or send video emoticons to measure if the emoticons are actually something people love to use. If they don't love it enough, or if it's hard for them to send them or to forward them, I need to sharpen the feature as well. So The important thing is there are many ways to measure depending according to the nature of your business and product. The important is you do that up front and you instrument your code to bring up the telemetry so that you can actually say, hey, in my view, if we do it this way, people are going to use it and love it. But just to be on the safe side, I instrument the code so that I can measure it, and I set these KPIs, and I already prepared the dashboard so that when the feature is out, we validate the reality of the data, what people do with the product manager assumptions. And usually it's never the same.
I have a question. As I understand the PM, it is being like the person who switches the jobs. From Skype, you switch from Skype to HP or
vice versa.
MSD. And what is appealing about this switching employee?
No, I didn't switch between all the companies I was. These are the companies hiring product managers in here. I worked just a couple of companies. But yeah, there is a big turnaround. You want to know what's the difference between companies?
No, I mean, what is appealing about the switching, or not switching, so changing jobs and managing different products? I mean, and what is not appealing about that?
I can give you my answer. So the real answer is usually money, but I can give you my answer. My answer is definitely not money. It's so as a product manager, I try to do in my career what I couldn't do, what I was uncomfortable at doing, what I never did before. I never did it at that scale. So I started working as an engineer in university research, and then I went to a massive consumer business, developing a browser for millions of users. And now I knew the consumer business, so I switched to the enterprise business, becoming a competitor of CA at HP. And so I could develop something for customers. And customers are very different animals than users because they pay hundreds of thousands or millions of dollars, whereas you get your product for free. So once I was comfortably and successfully launching products at HP, and they were making pretty many millions of dollars, I said, okay, I can do that. Now let me do, as a product manager, something at Skype by launching a totally different product that the company wanted to launch or should have launched years before, and let me try to create it and launch it now. And the next thing will be, who knows, something I'm very much uncomfortable with as well.
So it isn't, you said like, it's for you, it's not about money.
It's about the product, it's about the user, and it's about what you can learn that you didn't know before. Questions more?
I have a question. Did you know when you were hiring for Skype, did you know that you were hired to build the web client? Was that the task? Was that something that you knew from the very start that this is going to be your challenge?
Yes, or I would have never accepted the job. So the reason why you accept the job as a product manager is, as I said, the main driver you have and the main diversificator you have with anybody else in the company is love. You need to love the product and you need to love the users. So I'm a Skype user, so my friends are as well, so I love myself and the other users, and most of you are probably as well, and I love the product. So initially Skype proposed me 3 different roles on 3 different products, and the first one I just rejected the offer because I wasn't interested in the product. It was Link at the time, and accepted only when they gave me a product I would really love. More questions? You have someone slide up? Oh. What information PMs use to create product requirements? That is totally random, or you Google stuff. I'm kidding. So the PM is so the product owner, when the product owner or the technical PM or the PM creates the requirements of the user story, it's usually the person creating the requirements. Now, where do you take these requirements from? Well, it's a little bit it would be a little bit too much claiming that the PM is a global genius, being able to invent everything about the product. So as I said, you're not the product expert, so you'd better talk to product experts. You better talk to engineers that know what improvements or enhancement can be done, for instance, on the security, on the performance. You better talk to market and to community managers, and they know, for instance, what users want. And when you talk to users or customers even directly, as much as you can talk to design, when you do design research, you need always to focus on their problems and not on the solutions that they ask you. So you talk to everyone, including your girlfriend and your mom, which I was doing for Skype Web, and you collect everyone's requirements. And then it's up to you to understand, based on what you have, what has much value and less value. So some of them you throw away, even if they would be a good idea to do, but you cannot do everything. And some of them you prioritize them. And those that put to the top for you are those that need to be delivered first, because they're going to bring the best value. But you still need to understand that that is your assumption. Therefore, you need to instrument the product to measure it and validate it, test it. And then you become better and better at doing that. What are the requirements of Skype users? I don't understand the question. What are the requirements of Skype users? If I understand the question correctly, what are the typical requirements Skype users ask for? So usually is a smooth user interaction. So Skype users mostly use Skype. The key value proposition of Skype is video calling. It's something that you can do recently with WhatsApp, but not so well. And definitely Skype is one of the leading video calling free platforms. So mostly they want to use video calling so that the call doesn't drop. They want to interact with their contact list, which they do quite frequently in an easy way. And mostly they are user experience oriented and calling and video calling oriented. That's it?
Okay, so if that's all,
last question. Do you use some usability testing? And if yes, which one, which kind of usability testing, and who do it for you, or if you do it in-house?
We do them in-house. At Skype, we do them in-house, and before the usability testing, so the way it's done, and the way it's done, the most popular consumer companies building software for billions of users, you have usually a user research lab that is driven by the design team, and of course PMs are always in touch and in the loop with these people. And you have a subset of users under NDA to whom you show the new stuff, even at the level of prototype or just mock-up. And then most of the time you do contextual inquiry and you just give them the new stuff and you look at them, how they use it, and then you do user research on that. And you evaluate the performance and the optimability of your solution.
Okay, and like which methodologies you use for it? Like just simple usability testing or eye tracking or something like that?
No, for us the most of the user research is done with the design team, and they basically look and observe at users.
Okay.